Hi. In this video, I'd like to show you how to get started with Genkit Go. Genkit is an open source framework for building full stack AI-powered applications built by Google. And now with the full stable release of Genkit Go, you can use it with Go. So to get started with Genkit Go, you can go to genkit.dev, click on Get Started. And here across the top, you have three options, either start with JavaScript, Go, or Python Preview. We're going to click on Go. So Genkit is a pretty standard library that you use just as any other library. So most of these instructions are just how to get a project running in Go. So we're just going to skip all the details, create a new folder, create a new mod. Here are some instructions for installing the Genkit CLI. So highly recommend. So I'm going to be showing you how to use it. And here are instructions how to actually install the actual library with Go. We will need an API key. So in this example, we'll be using the Gemini API. Like here's the instructions how to get a free API key. If you're using any other model providers, you can find the instructions here on the left under the model providers. So, and then to jump into the actual code, like we can just go and copy paste this example here. So here's our code that I copy pasted. Let's just quickly take a look what's going on in here. So some imports, we're importing Genkit here. And here across the top, we define a couple of schemas. So we're just using Go structs. One for the input, so we'll be taking in the ingredients and the dietary restrictions, and our output is going to be a recipe. Here are all the fields. And as some of the metadata we have, we're telling it which JSON fields, like how to name them, and some JSON schema metadata as well for example, descriptions. And specifying these descriptions can be very useful because they're getting sent to the LLM. They can really help the LLM to generate the right data when you're working with structured output. Yeah, so we'll be generating recipes here in the main function. So all we're doing is we're initializing Genkit, installing the plugin that we're going to be using here. I'm going to be using the Google Gen AI plugin. This is the model that I'm going to be using, Gemini 2.5 Flash. We will define a Genkit flow. Genkit flow, just think of it as a fancy function. So it is literally a function that is wrapped to have observability and streaming and all those nice features that you need when you're building an AI app, kind of all built into it. But it is and behaves like just a regular function. So here we're going to call it recipe generator, and we're just going to specifying that this is the input type and the output type. And here we're actually defining a streaming version of it. We're defining the callback where you can send the chunks. And inside the actual flow, here we're parsing some inputs, and here we're going to construct our prompt. And in this case, it's going to be simple. It's going to be just a text prompt. We're going to be asking the LLM to create a recipe with the following requirements, the ingredients and the dietary restrictions. And this is the star of the show. This is the Generate API. Genkit offers a number of AI primitives to make your AI development easy. They're all composable and simple to use. Here we're going to be using the generate data function. Generate data is specifically for structured output. So when you're asking LLM to generate some JSON for you, the generate data will handle actually unmarshalling of that JSON data into the Go struct. You don't have to do it manually. Like literally, it's just like these three lines. We're telling it to, this is the prompt, and this is the schema, and we get the recipe back. All we had to do, extremely straightforward. And in this case, we're not going to do anything with the recipe. We're just going to return it from our flow. And yeah, and here in the main function, we're just going to invoke that flow. So it's going to be flow.run, and we're going to be passing in the ingredients and dietary restrictions. So we're going to be avocado and something vegetarian, and we're going to print it out. And here at the bottom, we're going to run an HTTP server, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. So we're going to go ahead and run this. And to run this, go run main.go. I already set my API key, so it is available to my running app. So yeah, and here we have the printed recipe Yeah, this is a creamy avocado pasta. Awesome. Let's look at another way how you can run your AI logic and take advantage of the Genkit tooling. So typically, this is how you run your app. So go run. But in order to run it with Genkit tooling, all you really need to do is just prefix it with Genkit start -- and Genkit tooling will take care of like discovering and connecting to your running app. Think of it as a debugger. It has like internal reflection API that's going to talk to your app. And let's go ahead and just run this. And here we see across the top Genkit developer UI. So if we click on it, we land in the Genkit dev UI. So here immediately you can see across the left all the things that you get access to via the Genkit tooling. So like the first thing is models. So if we click on the models here, we see 47 models that we get access to through the Gemini plugin. And here we can, like for example, pick 2.5 Flash, and we can say hi, and we get a hi back. Or we can go, for example, pick Nano Banana, the Flash image preview model, and say generate a cartoon of a robot riding a bicycle. Okay, here we get a cartoon of a robot riding a bicycle. So the Genkit Dev UI tooling fully supports multimodal input. Maybe we'll take a look at models here in the sec. Let's take a look at all the other things that you get access to, right? So, and here's the flows. So we already implemented a flow. So this is our recipe generator flow, and if we click on it here, because flows actually are strongly typed and they can describe their inputs and outputs like to the Genkit tooling. We get full code completion support here, so we kind of know exactly what we need to enter, and if we mistype something, we're gonna get warnings. So let's generate another recipe for avocados, and here we get our output. Pretty nice. And you can run it in streaming mode if you want as well. But I want to show you one cool feature here on the right. When you run it, because everything is observable, we get a trace. So here we see our recipe generator flow trace as we ran it for this is our input, and this is the output that we got. We can go play around with it. We can copy to clipboard if we want to inspect things. But in addition to the actual flow that we ran, we can actually see all of the Genkit primitives that are getting used inside the flow as well. So here we use the generate function, we use generate data, and we can see like the actual input. So this was the input, create a recipe, and here at the bottom we see the schema, right? So we actually provided the schema as well. You can inspect here, and for example here we see like for example that some of these fields are missing descriptions, maybe like something that we should fix. And here we see our output and we see our messages. So, and also like this is the actual model call that we see in here, pretty nice. And because the Genkit observability is fully built on top of OpenTelemetry, anything instrumented with OpenTelemetry, you also see in here. So we see the actual HTTP post, which is pretty nice. Another thing that I want to point out is that for all the model calls, you also see input and output tokens, which is very nice if you want to optimize for cost, so you're not using unnecessary tokens. And Genkit will like aggregate. So if you have multiple model calls, when you're looking at the flow level, it will show you the total token usage for your entire flow. Okay, let's keep going. Sorry, some of the other features on the left here. There's also prompts. There's embedders, and if you're using tool calling, you're gonna see tools, and you're gonna be able to play around with them. There's a ton of features here in the Dev UI that make it super nice. And here, like a little bit more at the bottom here, we see the traces. We already seen traces, so we actually everything you run in Genkit gets a trace, and you can access these traces here. And also, Genkit comes with an evaluation framework. So as for example, we've been running our flow here, right? So we've been passing in some inputs and running it and comparing the output. What we can do is we can actually build a data set of these inputs, and then we can batch run them, or you can also attach evaluators on them. So you could have LLM-powered evaluators that can look at the output and maybe compare it with an expected output, or you can actually implement custom evaluators as well. So this is a really high-level overview of Genkit tooling. But one other thing that I wanted to quickly show you is Genkit is for building full-stack apps. I'm going to show you how easy it is to build an app that accesses Genkit logic running in the backend. So I went ahead and I actually just vibe coded a quick recipe generator client app in Angular. Genkit fully works with any UI framework out there, even vanilla JavaScript. It doesn't really matter. The client library can work with any of those frameworks. And also we have a client library for Dart. If you're building a Flutter app, you can also access Genkit flows from your Flutter app as well. Let's just quickly take a look at our component here. This is our Angular component that is handling all of the rendering for the app. Actually, maybe just quickly show you this is the app. So it takes in the ingredients and the dietary restrictions. When you hit generate recipe, invokes this function, and here we can use generate flow function. This is part of the Genkit client library, and it's going to invoke this flow that is running on this HTTP URL. And as I previously mentioned, if we take a look at our Go code in here at the bottom, we're just starting an HTTP server. It's super easy to expose your flows as HTTP endpoints because they're fully typed. So like a free REST API that you get when you're exposing a flow. So there's a helper function that just kind of turns it into a handler. And here we're also doing some CORS handling because we're going to be calling it from a web app. And there are you can refer to the documentation, but there are a lot of options for doing auth and all the things that you need when you're building a web app. And here running a flow, and here's the HTTP endpoint, and we're passing in the ingredients and dietary restrictions. And this result is basically the recipe JSON object that we get back, like as it is returned from our flow. Like when we're returning a recipe, we get that exact object, but just as JSON on the client. And the rest is just rendering it on the screen. And let's just quickly see how it works. Hit generate recipe. And we get our recipe, and we can nicely present it on the screen, which is super cool, right? So there's like not much to actually like getting access to your AI logic running in the backend. While we were running this, another thing to quickly point out is that because our backend was running with Genkit Start, like under the Genkit tooling, we could go to our dev UI and go back to traces, and here we will see this is this flow run that we just did for like a chicken and dietary restrictions none, and we can find these traces directly invoked from our client app, and we can inspect all these different inputs. And the cool thing is that when I'm looking at the trace for a flow, I can open it in the flow runner. And here's our exact input as we entered it in our UI, and I can rerun this. And if I'm debugging my AI logic, instead of going through my UI and every time clicking the button there, I can go to a specific flow and debug it, run it through here, and inspect the traces, and see the model calls. And the same thing for the model call. When I'm looking at this specific model call, I can open this model call in the model playground, and here I see my prompt, and I can edit it, and I can make tweaks if I'm doing some prompt engineering, and from here I can invoke my model, and I can see the output exactly as it would be called from the app, and here I'm kind of drilling deeper into like the actual model call and inspecting it there. So this is a high-level overview of Genkit and a quick tutorial of how to get started. So we're very excited having the Genkit Go available as a stable release. Really want to see how you use it and what you build with it. And if you run into any issues, you can always file issues on GitHub, and you can find us on Discord. So yeah, that's it. Thanks.